Well, to get to Kenya, the main international airport is in Nairobi, obviously, the capital city, Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Nairobi is a big transport hub internationally and within Africa. So, yeah, if you're flying from Europe, you often will find direct flights to Nairobi. If you're coming from more far-flung destinations like Australia or America, you more than likely would have to fly via another country. But generally, if you check with the airlines or your local travel agent that does flights, you'll find various options and durations of flights to Nairobi.
The main safari areas are accessible from Nairobi, but you have to bear in mind, if you look on a map, the Masai Mara is only about 280 kilometres from Nairobi, but that journey can take you 5 to 6 hours, so you must always bear in mind the local road conditions.
I mean, it's like Africa. You get quite a good in the city areas, you get good infrastructure, central business districts and all of that. They got a lot of trains. So train track, they rely a lot on rail transport of goods and passengers. But as soon as you start getting out of the cities, it's like a lot of African countries, the roads start to deteriorate a bit. You get a lot of traffic, big trucks and stuff on the roads. But it's fairly good. I mean, you can travel quite well. If you're on your own vehicle, like Harriet mentioned, roads to certain game reserves can be infested with potholes. So it could take quite a while and you can't drive too fast. But it's otherwise all good in that regard.
Yeah, I'll add to that, the train, the SGR, that you can get from Nairobi to Mombasa. It's a great way to get to the coast. What some of our safaris offer is that add-on, and they'll book the train for you and the train ticket to get you down to Mombasa, and then you can go spend your time on the beach after the safari.
I think when you're planning your trip to Kenya, particularly if you want to visit in peak season from July to October, a year ahead isn't too early. 6 months definitely ahead of travel, because it is going to be a case of finding room for you at the lodges or the campsites. So pre-planning is highly recommended.
I would also say it depends on what season you go. Obviously, if you are planning on going in peak season, you'll have to think of planning longer in advance because that gets filled up. If it's off-peak season, you probably can still get away with last-minute bookings in some cases. But if you are planning on peak season, I would say do it as fast as possible.
Definitely malaria precautions is the number one concern that you'll need to chat to your local GP or doctor about. So consider malaria prophylactics. Also, if you're traveling, say, to neighboring countries and you're traveling through Kenya, some countries consider Kenya a yellow fever risk country. So you'll need a yellow fever vaccination. So if you're doing a multi-country safari, which is very common, people combine Kenya with Tanzania, you will need the yellow fever certificate or vaccination when you're traveling from Kenya into Tanzania. So that's another major concern.
There's a few. I think traditionally, like Dan said, to combine Kenya with Tanzania is the most common one that we get. You also get quite a few tours that would combine Uganda and the gorillas. That is actually quite a nice one. You do a bit of Kenya, Masai Mara, and you head up north and you do Uganda and some of the parks there with the gorillas. But I think the most common is probably your safari and your beach. So, the beach areas, coastal areas, maybe even go to Zanzibar after you did a Kenya safari.
So my insider tip for booking a safari to Kenya is definitely to book far ahead of travel if you want to go in peak season. Then you're going to get your first choice of lodge or campsite and the first choice of game parks that you wish to visit.
Yeah, my insider tip is more practical. It's about spending money. Often people ask about, what will they need to spend money? So on arrival in Nairobi at the airport, there are ATMs. So I would recommend bringing US dollars cash, either changing money on arrival at the airport or using the ATM to get out Kenyan shillings. And then you can also use your credit card. So a majority of the parks and that, with the Starlink coming on board throughout Africa, and that a lot of the camps in rural areas actually has a Wi-Fi and internet connection. So paying with card is also, very easy. So that would be my insider tip.
I think when planning your Kenya safari, just make sure you're fully informed about the likely weather conditions. So if you know that you're going in the green season and you're going to get spectacular cloud formations and wonderful photographic opportunities, but expect it to rain, the road conditions are going to deteriorate. It's just making sure you've done your research before you book for certain times of year.
I would say, and it's probably not specifically to Kenya, but I think if tourists like taking the photos, of people, of the locals, it's always a good idea to ask permission before you take photos and not just take photos. Also, government buildings, it's a big no-no. Don't take photos of any government buildings in Africa. Sometimes it's okay, but you rather don't take that risk.
Yeah, mine's again a bit more sort of practical. When you are planning traveling, don't fly in and expect to get on the safari straight away. And there's things like flight delays, flight cancellations. Give yourself a buffer day to acclimatize, get over jet lag. Maybe your luggage didn't turn up when you did. So always book maybe 1, even 2 days before the safari start date. We can arrange airport transfers, accommodation in Nairobi. There's a great day trip we can arrange in Nairobi. So yeah, when you're thinking about your safari duration, factor in those couple of nights before for your arrival.
So like and subscribe. Also feel free to join a 6-part email course that will answer everything you need to know about going on safari in the link below, and check out our website. We have many tours of all various durations and styles for each country in East and Southern Africa.